creative critters, and welcome to Sketching with Sarah. I'm Sarah, and today I want to share with you a fun little mini baby art project that I was inspired to do after my vacation in Florida. Today I wanted to paint on a seashell that I found on a beach of the Atlantic Ocean. The shell that I'm going to be painting on today has some really interesting leaf imprints on the inside of the shell, so I was inspired to paint a little sunset forest scene onto the shell. I used acrylic craft paint, and it was a fun challenge blending and painting on such a textured surface. So while you watch me struggle to blend and paint on this seashell, I'll give you a little update to what I've been up to. If you've been around my channel for a bit, you know that I took a break from YouTube for the holiday and the new year to go to Florida and just have a little break. It was kind of a tough decision since I haven't missed a single Friday upload since I started this YouTube channel like 3 years ago. There was no way I was going to be able to post during that time, and if you want some more elaboration, just check out my community tab. I pretty much explained everything there. So I just want to say thank you for bearing with me and sticking around. I am back now, and I will be back to my normal Friday uploads this year. If I do decide to miss an upload, you'll hear about it on my Instagram stories and on my community tab, but I really don't plan to take a break anytime soon. But you never know what'll happen. I think everyone deserves a break once in a while, so thank you for being here now that I'm back and for the support and understanding that you guys showed me. So anyway, one of the day trips that I did, I went with my mom to see the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Ended up visiting Fort Island Gulf Beach for the Gulf of Mexico to see the sunset on the ocean, and then New Smyrna Beach another day to see the Atlantic Ocean. Neither of us have ever been to the ocean or touched an ocean before. The closest we've ever gotten was flying over an ocean to go to Europe. So being in Florida, we had to make a day to see a couple oceans. Now, something I love to do is collect sea glass. I have buckets and buckets worth of sea glass collecting from Lake Michigan, and unfortunately there was none on either of the beaches that we visited in Florida. The glass we did find were still sharp, which was kind of a bummer. When visiting the Atlantic though, there were some seashells here and there, so I took some of the not broken ones that I could find. They were all really small though, which made picking one of them to paint on pretty challenging since I didn't have a lot of room to paint on any of them. I ended up choosing this one because of the little leaf imprints that I showed to you guys earlier in the video. Anyway, I love seeing the ocean and I hope to be back there someday. If you're familiar with Florida, please leave me a comment and let me know any beaches that you know of that have a lot of sea glass, or just on the East Coast in general. I'd love to plan another trip to the East Coast. But where we were staying in Florida, those two beaches were the closest on either side of Florida for us to visit. So if you have any beaches anywhere that you know of that has a lot of sea glass, please let me know. So back to the painting. During this part of the process, I am adding more and more acrylic paints and working with the wet paints next to each other and trying to blend them with the same paintbrush onto the canvas, or in this case, the seashell. And here I'm trying my best to get a consistent ombre over the whole thing. I kept adding more and more paint to it, but the more you blend, the more it all just becomes one solid color. And that's not really what I'm going for. I'm aiming for some version of a gradient. Fun fact, the sunset colors with purple is my favorite color palette, and my favorite color is the darker red-violet color that ends up being on the top of the seashell, so these colors made me very happy to work with them in this painting. At a certain point, I did realize that I built up way too much paint and it was getting hard to work with, so I just took a clean, dry brush and swiped away any excess paints. And then I just wiped off that paint onto my hand. I don't know why I do this. I think I'm just lazy to reach over and get a paper towel. Or it's just easier and my hand is right there. And maybe I feel more artistic. It's funny because when I work at Color Me Mine, there's always a kid that freaks out that they're getting paint on their hands. And I always say, well, if you have paint on your hands, that means you're an artist. And then they start to embrace it, and it's so cute. You can tell that it makes them feel so special, and it makes me very happy. So once I wiped away all the excess paint, I started to be a bit more strategic where I was adding in new color. I just looked at it and tried to notice what color was blended out too much and where I needed to add more. Since the bottom layer was pretty dry and I wasn't working wet on wet as much, it was easier to keep the color more pure on top of it. And this part was pretty intuitive, and I kind of just added color wherever I felt like it. It's important to remember that painting is about creating something, putting colors and brush strokes wherever you think is right in the moment. As Bob Ross said, This is your world that you're painting, and you can paint whatever you want in it. My personal favorite part of painting is the process of it, and not necessarily having a beautiful painting at the end of it, although that is a perk for sure. Once I was okay with the background, I used the very tippy tip of my smallest acrylic brush, and I painted in as skinny of a line as I could in black paint. Then I started from the top of the line and just poked the paintbrush tip in a zigzag pattern, crossing through the vertical line that I painted first. And this will give the illusion of a silhouette of a tree. The nice thing about trees is they aren't perfect, and painting on an already textured surface in the grooves of the shell made it pretty easy to achieve that leafy texture of tree leaves. So I just kept painting my happy little trees, and I think painting the trees was my favorite part of this whole shell because it's so sloppy, but they are trees, so it still looks fine. After I was happy with the trees, I thought, hey, maybe I'll add little stars in the darker purple area on the top of the shell. But I quickly realized that would be more challenging than I thought because I don't have a super duper tiny paintbrush to do little stars individually, and I was too lazy to get a toothpick or something. I'm very impatient when I'm painting for whatever reason. So you'll see me struggle, paint over it in purple again and try again, still hate it, and then end up adding clouds for some reason. In my opinion, the clouds kind of ruined it for me, and I added too many. But again, I'm just painting on a little seashell. It's not that serious. I think overall, I really enjoyed painting this little seashell. And if you have a bunch of shells at home that you want to paint on, there were some shell and rock painting inspiration photos that I found on Pinterest. So if you want to see other painting ideas or crafts in general to do with all of your seashells, I always have my Pinterest linked in my description. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching me paint this seashell that I found from the Atlantic Ocean. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave this video a like and subscribe for more art and animal related content. If you made it this far, leave me a comment and let me know if you've ever been to or if you live in Florida. I'd love to know any suggestions for beaches with a lot of sea glass or just any other must-visit beaches on the ocean. I hope you had a wonderful holiday and safe new year. And since you stuck around this far, here's some videos from my adventures seeing the ocean for the first time, featuring some seabirds. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay creative, and I will see you in next Friday's video.